something I do miss is curation and tastemakers, not in the sense of pretension, but in the sense of where do I go to find what I need? And I want my listeners to find me because they need me.
Welcome to the Sweet Song Podcast, where we unwrap your favorite songs and the stories, secrets, and worldviews of the artists who write them. I'm your host, Kristi York Wooten, and this week I welcome singer-songwriter Patrick Droney. He's a songwriter who uses storytelling in such an effective way. His new album, Made You Look, which was out last month on Warner, is 12 songs of just about life, the life that we're all experiencing together right now, and really about music's role in that world, how we use songs to escape, how we use songs to describe how we're feeling as parents or, with friends. These songs are really something special. So I hope you'll enjoy discovering him if you haven't already. He's had viral hits. He's had Billboard hits. He's worked with Kygo. He has Kelsey Ballerini on this amazing new ballad called Math of Us with a great video to go along with it. So please welcome Patrick Droney. This is the Sweet Song Podcast. Thank you so much for being here, Patrick.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you. You've got a new album, Made You Look, that just came out. And I want to ask you what I ask a lot of people kind of on their third full-length album, which is, the third one can be the charm. It can be sometimes a curse. I don't think that's in your case, but the third album is typically when artists decide kind of who they are to the public. So I call it the USP. It's the unique selling proposition about who you are. Have you felt that way when you were making this record, that in some ways you were coming into your own as an artist? And if so, what are 3 things that you can tell us you've learned while making the record?
This is a definitive album in my personhood. It's like the journey of being an artist in today's day and age is one of fighting a lot of noise and kind of constant incoming everything. And this era of my life, it's a third album, but it's a 20-year career. It's more of the person than it is the artist, and it's combining those things into just one. So life happened. I hit altitude so fast this season. I found that I was going to be a father the same week this album was greenlit, and that personal charge of responsibility, obligation to tell this story authentically for myself and just to become. I mean, this is a becoming moment for me. So it was never going to be a success metric on how well this project did. It was going to be how true can I document this process in a time that was going to be the most blurry, intense becoming of my life. And I couldn't have feel like I feel like I hit the target right in the middle. And I learned so much about paying attention in this process. That's the whole theme. Made You Look is about, in a culture of distraction, attention is intimacy. And for me, it was focusing in on the intimate moments of my everyday, the ordinary Tuesdays and the mundane that we often miss because of routine and constant barrage of everything else. And there's a million lessons in there, which is just your life is happening right now. And it is absolutely worth paying attention to.
I love what you said about the 20 years under your belt, but then the third album, and those are 2 different things. I mean, I think that's so indicative. I mean, as a young person, your 20 years started when you were a teen because you were somewhat of a child prodigy as a musician. But also, it could happen to people at any stage in their life. We may not all be creating albums or creating other things that artists do, but everybody has those times in their lives where it's these milestones, like you said, the marking of time, even the mundane. And I think that you hit it on the head in terms of what your songwriting is about. You did start very young, and I want to know how sort of the 12-year-old you
Yeah,
would think about you now, and especially with this record.
sure. I mean, when you fall in love with anything at a young age, it's kind of a blessing and a burden, right? Because it's just the path was laid in front of me and I knew it as early as I can remember. And I think I always contended with my ability and then what I wanted to communicate. So as a young person, even as a guitar playing kid, it was like, well, guitar solos were only as important as the songs they were in. And how do I follow my heroes that are making me feel these intense emotions? Even as a kid, it's all coming of a certain age, and that's a big theme of this record. Like you said, the milestones at every single degree of our lives, whether you're 18, 12, 32, or 64, they're all incredibly relevant, important, and worthy of a story to tell. I think the long, long journey to the beginning that I feel like I'm finally arriving at the starting line. I would just I just think there's a level of contentment now where this is the story. It was never about an arrival. You know, there's this great quote. It's like, "When you get there, there is not there." That's how this whole thing feels, and I'm just kind of feeling I'm getting to a place where, "Hey, buddy, you're gonna enjoy how it turns out, and just hold on till it turns out to be," you know?
I love that. The story is not about the commencing. It is the story. Every part of
Yeah,
the story is
exactly.
essential
Yeah.
to the story. And I usually don't bring up other artists when I interview folks about their own music, but something really struck me, and I'll be revealing my age by saying this, but I don't know how familiar you are with Charlie Sexton, the
Ab
musician. Of
absolutely.
course. So he had a
Yep.
different background than you. You went a more traditional route with like music schooling, and he came up in the clubs and bars when he was a young player. But I think at a certain point, like, I don't know if you've heard his album Under the Wishing Tree, but if you haven't, you should check that out. It's so similar to your album. You don't sound alike, it's completely different, but the heart in the songwriting and where you are as people, and he might have been even your exact same age when he put that
I mean,
record out.
Charlie and I actually have so many more similarities than differences, and growing up, he was somebody I looked at and towards, and, you know, growing up in that kind of, playing the blues clubs and being a gunslinging guitar playing guy, like, yeah, I gotta find your way in the song in that world, right? And I think he did that, and I just knew very early on that I had to do that, and it was gonna take me so much longer to get there, to articulate those things, but, I'd actually love to hear that, and that totally scratches a very old itch of mine of growing up listening to Charlie, so that's awesome.
Amazing. Okay, so there was something in the universe that made
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
true. So I do wanna talk about some of the songs on Made You Look, and I wanna start with the video for The Math of Us because I love this video. I want you to tell me about the making of it, and I feel like the song, even though it seems like it could just be about a relationship between 2 people, I mean, The Math of Us could be about any sort of situation in society right now or families or communities. So, especially the line, "I miss you when you're right next to me." Uh, can you tell me a little bit more about the video, which is a really important way to deliver that song because it does kind of give that unity element?
Absolutely. I mean, Math of Us is the conversation that I've been having in my head for as long as I can remember when I realized time is not forever. And I look at my parents, I look at my grandparents, I look at my partner, I look at my son. And this is the conversation that I don't feel like we often have, but it's always in the room. And every year is adding up to less and less time. And I somehow feel like a minute got shorter in the last couple of years. Like it's all just rapidly approaching. And I think it's a timely conversation. Um, so for me, it was important to articulate it, and when it came time to make the visual, I mean, I directed this video, I edited this video. Another passion of mine is docu-style shooting and photography, and living in Brooklyn, most of my pastime is well, pre-dad pastime was, you know, walking around and watching the world in front of me, and oftentimes, I look for the great equalizers, and a park bench, a diner, these places where we all converge, like the third place mentality, right? And we're all the same. But I watch and I see it's like I watch people talk to God. I watch people go places right next to me. And that was always something I wanted to try to show in a visual sense. And math felt like the perfect moment to do that.
I love that. Okay, that one is deep, and I love that, of course, with Kelsey Ballerini on it, but I wanna talk about "Cigarette Break." That's one
Yeah.
of my favorites on the record, and I know you did
Awesome.
that with Steven Wilson, right? So can you tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about how that one came together?
Yeah, I mean, you know, cigarette break is kind of my response to this desperate need that I feel like I have to just find a fire escape pretty much every day, especially now. And that is this kind of liminal space in a recording that I wanted to capture. Is this like kind of in between? Let me step out of the moment. And Steven and I have been friends for over a decade. We've written songs forever, and watching him in this moment for him has just been incredible. And we always kind of meet different moments and try to find the different way to say things. And that this was just a great example of us talking about just the fire escape conversation and it turning into this I don't smoke, but I kill to take a cigarette break. And like the guitar solo on that is me with like the cigarette and the headstock in the back of the studio, smoky room kind of thing. And just really a cool way to make the thing sound and look the same as you listen.
Yeah, and I definitely get, there's the lyric, but then there's definitely the vibe too of
The
the
vibe.
music, which
Yeah.
which works so well. That one instantly hooked me.
I
And
love
and
that.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about style and genre because I think you're an artist where I think there's just no discussion of genre. I mean, obviously, you're so talented in a lot of different styles. Your vocal style and your guitar style can be different from each other, too. And in this age where I feel like the walls of genre are falling away, um, how does that affect kind of the role of music in America? There's a freedom to it, but then there's also how do you define what you wanna say to a specific audience right now, especially with not just politics, but what you've been alluding to in this conversation already, which is that need of, like, a break, like the chaos and music's role in.
You know, I think it's essential, and I think it's fighting with itself right now because we're dealing with this overload of, and the it was something I do miss, is curation and tastemakers, not in the sense of pretension, but in the sense of like, where do I go to find what I need? And like, I want my listeners to find me because they need me, and that's I think the essential work of people like yourself who are elevating our stories and the records and I think at its best, playlisting can actually be that and all those things. But there's just so much, and I think genre. Everybody needs boxes. We're better for them in some ways, and we're not for others. Um, it's a strange thing. I've always felt the story is going to rise above the box it's in, and in that way, I can live in Americana, country, folk, pop, rock. All that stuff is all good, but story, I think, right now is a genre in itself. It is kind of revealing to be. It's amazing to watch what country's kind of turned into versus when I put my EP out. Nobody really. It was a whole different thing in Nashville, and now Nashville is the center of everything. And um, boundaries are kind of gone, and I think that's a great thing. But I do believe that we need to find great spaces to curate, so we know where to go.
I love that, the idea of taste making. I was thinking about that the other day. And even if it's just at the grocery store, the person who puts the right cheeses together in the display is a tastemaker.
100%. But you
So
know what?
it's
That like the grocery store is actually like one of my mainstays as a person. I go to the grocery store, even if I'm not getting anything, and I see something I've seen my whole life. It's never changed. The colors, the logos, the brands, the frozen aisle. I everything is it's 1993 and it's 2026, and that makes me feel okay. And I think that's what I'm also grabbing for and reaching for is like what is familiar anymore? What still feels the same? And maybe music at its best is that it doesn't change. It's at its core. It's a place to go to feel familiar.
well, and for you, what you're trying to develop is the story as the brand so that
Hmm.
people know you that that's what they're getting off the shelf or in the
Oh,
air or
so
where.
yeah, so well said. Wow, yeah,
But that's yeah, that's what I hope that's what you're saying.
it totally is. But that's
Yeah. But
your mission statement is really amazingly written. By the way, like I
thank
like was
you.
really moved by it, and I feel like you are doing such a service in helping people articulate that thing you just said.
Thank you. Thank you. That is my role in life. I just feel like music is a divine thing that is here and it is for us like you said to you wanted people to need you, to find you because they could use what you have to say. And
Because I need it too. Yeah,
I'm just trying to help those who want to be found, I guess. So
that's
that's
awesome.
it.
Yeah,
I can already tell we were meant to have this conversation, so that's great.
100%.
I want to transition because talking about stories, and especially in the age of streaming, I mean, you had a viral hit with Stand and Deliver, and then you
Mm.
had a Billboard hit with Say You Will. So, looking back on those two songs, are you pleased with the way that those stories did kind of rise in these different areas? And would you do anything different about the way that happened for you at that point in your career?
I mean, Stand and Deliver was a point in my like, that was truly, I moved to Nashville in 2016, and it was kind of like, now I can make sense of my story. I found my people. I found this culture of, like, articulation, and Stand and Deliver was just a true articulation of what I was going through, and then sonically it all just worked, and it was real, and it was an honor of, like, everything I've been through and sonically, etcetera, and I put it out independently, and it got me on late night. It got me on, like, it was like I made it to this place that, when you decide you wanna do something, you decide in the time that it's in. So for me, it was like, the year 2000. It was like 2002. Like, I bought my first CD, like, of my own at Borders and FYE, things that don't exist anymore. So, when Stand and Deliver came out, and it yeah, it charted on, it was like the viral top 10. Gosh, that definition of that is not the same today. Like, what that meant in 2018 is not the same thing. And a song like Stand could go viral then in a very organic way. So I think I couldn't change anything because it was just like this perfect moment of time with where things were at. And it did create, I found my people with that. And then Say You Will, at the same time, that was kind of around the State of the Heart record when Kygo, I wrote a song for Kygo, and we put this thing out, and it was like, whoa, this is a different side of me, but that's also part of me. I love pop music, and I'm a producer and a writer, and that's just as interesting to me in a lot of ways. So for me, it was a great perfect storm of, I believe in the Renaissance mentality, right? You can do more than one thing, and but those are completely different things for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so now we've gotten to the signature segment of our show, which is the sweet song reveal. So, Patrick Droney, what is the one song from your catalog that's closest to your heart? And then tell your favorite story about that song.
Wow. That's a really great question. I think I've actually been thinking about this a lot because I've never had this much music before. I've never had this catalog this big. Um, I think I want to keep going on the Stand and Deliver theme. There's this, I can't shake this feeling of, like, dance with the person who brought you to the party, and, like, Stand really, it brought me to the party in such a real way. And that was a song that I was playing live for like 2 years before I recorded it. It was like people who knew me knew that song, and I think getting to kind of meet those moments, like, the late night moment, and every time I play that song live, it's like, if you were there, you were there thing. Um, but it was really a dedication to some people really important to me in my life, and it was like kind of a really emotional time. And the only thing I knew how to do, to reach out to these people in my life that were going through something really hard, was to write this song. And to know that's where, like, that spark happened, and then my career took off from that spark, was the lesson of always follow that spark. And the other thing is not it's just write the real story, and the rest will find you.
I want to know what song by any artist you wish you'd written or
Ooh.
performed. Could be either
Mhm.
or both.
I think a song that means so much to me is The Living Years, Mike and the Mechanics. Like that, I sob every time I hear it, and, like, whatever that has been doing to me for my whole life, I respect it so much.
Love that "Be Still My 80s Heart" here, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't remember exactly
yeah,
what year it came out, but yeah, I think it was late '80s, but yeah, that is a great one. Of course, it's about the relationship with the father
yeah.
and all of
It's
that.
pretty
It's
much all my, like,
yeah.
heart stuff. Yeah,
That's a great, interesting answer. Usually people are so not everyone, but a lot of times people come on the podcast and they wanna be cool, they have to be cool, so they have to say like, "Well, of course, it's the, 4th song on the Clash's out," something that not that they don't really feel that, but
sure.
this was a
I mean,
really great
that was like, I was like, I want to answer you honestly. What breaks my heart, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish with what I'm writing, is like that just gets straight to the source for
yeah,
me.
totally
Yeah.
disarming. So, we do have to talk a little bit about, um, you're gonna be in Atlanta and Sandy Springs on August 21st, in City Springs as part of a free outdoor event, and then you'll be on your tour in October all across America. Now, is this forgive me for not knowing your complete tour history, but is this, like, toured different or bigger in different ways than some of your previous outings? You wanna talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think every tour ideally is kind of raising the bar a little bit from yeah, that's kind of the fun part about hitting the circuit and like reaching these metrics and getting to play the bigger rooms. But also it's like, oh wait, but I really miss that 100-person club. And I think this tour is a great reflection of some of those ambitious moments. Like, honestly, headlining the Ryman is just such a dream for me. Coming from Nashville, and it's always been just this mantelpiece situation. So that's I'm very, very thrilled. And Brooklyn Steel and the Belasco in LA, these are all just like really incredible rooms. But yeah, every city is an impactful, meaningful one because I've played it already and I have
Right.
memories there. And the beautiful thing about growing is you see the people who've been there since Shuba's in Chicago, and then you're at Terminal West, and like you start bringing them with you, and so that's really fun. But I think this tour is, it's 11 shows, it's compact, it's intentional, and again, like with this much music, it's a different calling for me to figure out how to tell that story live and what does that look like. So that's what I'm in the middle of right now.
Well, talking about rooms and you missing the small rooms when you get to the big rooms, did you know about Glenn Hansard? Had you been a fan of his?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
he's
yeah.
the king of the small room for sure.
He's somebody who, I mean, as early as I can remember, was the source guy. I mean, my mom's from Belfast, all my family's in Ireland. The Irish storytelling is such a huge part of me. And it's almost once a year I have my Glenn review. And I wrote this yesterday online. Glenn's music goes back as long as I can remember, so it's always a measure of time travel for me, listening to his records. And just last week on the plane, it was just kind of a moment of calm, and I went all the way through, and it was like a 2 a.m. airport situation delay. I'm just walking through an empty airport listening to Glenn, and I just felt so seen and always felt so heard by him. And what a great poet of our time. And at the end of the day, like just a spirit of the human condition. He resonated completely. So a massive loss, terribly sad.
I love that, and I love what you said about the airport, and I'm assuming you're with headphones, right,
Yeah.
listening to
Yep.
music, and which is such an intimate thing that we've all come to expect that that's how we experience music. I remember I had a moment, just a brief story around I think it was probably 2008 or 2009. We had a dog named Barky who was sadly he died at 14, but he lived a long time. But anyway,
Yeah.
he had never heard music through the speakers. When
Wow.
when these speakers came out, like the home pods and all these things first started coming out, we realized, my husband and I both have massive record collections, massive everything. We've been listening to music on headphones for about, 6 or 7 years. We've had this dog who's never heard music, and he didn't know what to do when we played it through the speakers, and I thought, "That is so sad." And there was one commercial on TV, I forget which speaker company it was. It was about music coming back to the living room and back to
Oh,
the
wow.
kitchen and
Wow.
all of this. And I feel like we're at that moment now with even if it's Alicia Keys with the Knicks victory or if it's, Wonderwall at the World Cup situations, we're needing to be in the room with music more than ever before. Do you agree with that? And Glenn was one of the people who was, the king of the room.
Yes. I mean, that's like I couldn't have said it better. And I think we need the score more than the soundtrack right now. We need to like I always love score music because it's the middle moments. It's happening right now. And when I go out and shoot and take those photos and films, like I put on score music because it just walks me through them and it reminds me of this is poetry and this is here. And I think we're only better for it, and it helps bring us into the present moment. Like, that song is gonna end. This is right now. This is here. This is 3 minutes.
Yeah, we're living the score. That is true. What is your biggest hope or fear about the future of music?
My hope is that we continue to reach out to each other through it, and that it I think it's one of our strongest bonds and strongest, it's something like gold. It's going to stay. It's just how do we keep it tangible? And, something as real as, like all of our camcorder tapes and all of our, you know, my 90s kid stuff that's disintegrating in the closet. Are we finding places to put that isn't just on the cloud? Like, how do we keep holding it? and that's maybe my fear is how do we keep holding it? But then I see, vinyl's up and cassettes are up and all that. It's beautiful. It's great. But like, it is definitely kind of something like this right now with how much we're living in this intangible digital life.
Well, and maybe we should, yeah, just like you said, maybe we should separate, you know, digital is intangible. And if physical media is tangible, cassettes, CDs, whatever, albums, but there's that space that is very tangible. Like I had my college choir 200-person reunion last weekend. That is the most powerful thing you can do is talk about physical, tangible, all those things. And maybe that space to hold it is a moment like at the World Cup where the
Yes,
song
yes.
is like this, you know,
I love that.
it's in the room and that's where we need to be. So maybe this whole thing of vinyls has been us trying to find what physical means when it really just means making music together or being around music, right?
I love that so much. I couldn't agree more. Yeah,
You could steal
I
it.
love it. No, it really makes me think. It really does. And maybe also I think about I love that people can discover so much now, but it goes back to that idea of like if there's a billion cups, does this one cup feel the same in your hands? Like, how do you know that that's your cup and how do you need it? And that's back to
Yeah.
my earlier point of just finding what you need in today's time.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for joining me on Sweet Song Podcast. It's been an
Thanks for
amazing
having me.
conversation. I really appreciate it.
Likewise.
The Sweet Song Podcast is hosted by Kristi York Wooten, that's me, and produced by Sustenance Group, LLC. Special thanks to this week's guest. Be sure to check out full episodes wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe and like on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Visit Pure Pop for Now, people, for more information, and we'll see you next week.